The University Tower chimes ring in another session of Ask the Professor, the show on which you match wits with University of Detroit Mercy professors in an unrehearsed session of questions and answers. I'm your host, Matt Mayo, and let me introduce to you our panel for today. To my right, it's Professor Stephen Manning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hope everyone's enjoying the weather.
Absolutely.
Getting out of the house, out of the office.
A few people
out of the department meeting.
Yep, left early today because they just like to get out there and walk in weather like this, and I simply cannot blame them. My house felt very cold last night. I was like gathering the covers up in bed because the furnace hadn't been on all day. It's warm enough, and then everything kind of cooled down after the sun went out. So it's kind of a weird weather pattern, but
we'll take it.
Could be the new one. Could be the new weather pattern.
We could be in San Diego.
That's anything's. Yeah. Oh gosh. Anything in California. No thanks. At this point, the mudslides into the backyard. That may be. Honestly, I would rather see a tornado in the distance. Oh, that's an oddity. Like seeing the hill coming towards you. I don't know if I could handle that, but I'm sure they say the same thing about the stuff that we have
ice
to deal
storms
with around here. Yeah,
exactly. But when you think about what ice storm, okay, so we stay at home. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
We deal with it.
I know. And Beth was slamming her fist down like, snow day. And I don't know if we're going to have another one.
I know.
Yeah, it's...
Sorry.
Well, we haven't technically even had one.
No.
But a lot of other...
It was that last Tuesday of
schools
last week was when we got...
Oh, the false alarm?
No. It was when the Tuesday when we got all the snow.
It was in the middle of the morning, right? And then it snowed all day.
Yeah. So it would have been... Yeah. I don't know. Now I'm confused. Okay. Like the week of the 15th of January or something. Mm-hmm. It was around there. Yes. Around there.
This year?
Yeah.
Yes,
There was so much snow, and I turned to go up Haggerty off of 8 Mile to go to my place in Novi where I have to do my occupational therapy and see my hand doctor, and I'm like, there's two big trucks right there that like are just not able to move, and I'm like, this isn't happening.
Well, we've had no clearing of our streets in the neighborhood that we pay for, through our fee, because they don't do it until we get. It used to frustrate me. They finally fixed it. I don't know if it was a result of my phone call, but the newsletter used to say, we've contracted with someone, whenever we get 4 inches to 6 inches, they will come to do, I said, well, wait a minute. The implication of that is if we get less than 4, which makes sense, but if we get more than 6, they're not going to do it. It should just be 4 inches or more.
Doesn't the city do it after that, at that point?
What?
Doesn't the city owe you that service after?
Oh, this is not the city. We contract privately.
Right, but the city has, if you didn't contract privately, the city would still have an obligation to your neighborhood? I thought the city did 6 inches and more.
I haven't seen a city snowplow truck in my neighborhood in
forever.
Almost the 30 years I've lived there.
Wow.
Wow.
But I thought after the...
But they finally corrected the 4 to 6 thing. They just made it the right way. It's going to be 4 inches of continuous snow.
I thought the city also contracted privately to do this, to do the 6 inches plus. Wow, that's amazing.
But I mean, we haven't had 4 or 6 inches this year.
We've had a little bit of snow, but that's basically.
I've shoveled twice and no more than 3 inches each time.
No, it's true.
Yeah, but you get the streets in our neighborhood turn into a little ice rink.
Oh yeah, terrible.
Yeah, it's
absolutely
awful.
terrible.
So we just heard from Professor Dan Maggio. Thanks for chiming in, Dan.
You're welcome.
We do see every once in a while a city plow in the great city of Berkeley.
Oh, all the time.
It's pretty good.
The street cleaners came by today.
Oh, okay.
Can you believe it?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. February.
We live in a great city.
We do.
We do.
My dad was grilling some burgers last night for a family dinner, and was out there just wearing a flannel, because it was pretty warm yesterday too. But everybody walking by with their dog is like, "Oh, you're grilling in February." I'm like, "Dad, you've done that before. It's not like that out of the ordinary." But it felt right, like to smell the burgers.
There are people that grill all year round.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You can do that.
There's that one house around the block from us, man. I keep on. I wonder if I walked by and took a steak, would they notice?
I had a professor in grad school who told me he'd stood out like in 6 inches of snow and did grilling, and I'm like,
it's a great way to stay warm.
He grew up here, so that probably explains.
I went to my advisor's house once for Thanksgiving, and this is in Madison, Wisconsin, and there was snow. There was about 2 feet of snow on the ground, and it was snowing on Thanksgiving Day. and he had a turkey on the grill in the back.
Why not?
There we go.
Why
He
not?
would go
I
out
love it.
every half hour. He'd
Yep.
go out and periodically baste that thing.
Weather shall not deter us.
Dan, how often do you grill? Is it a thing at your house?
Not well, in the summer. Yeah, 3-4 nights a week,
Nice.
almost constantly.
Nice.
Yes.
That's the way to do it right there. That is the real deal.
Plus, you have like the grill master. So
I do.
you're so lucky.
But although I'm kind of, I would be willing to break open the grill like now, but that's not the consensus in the household. So
Consensus.
we have to wait. And also, it needs a good
You
cleaning.
get one no
Sacred.
vote, no
It's
consensus.
sacred.
Yes.
No, it is.
You have to burn off last year's crud.
That's right.
Yeah,
You-
you do. You do.
Well, I power wash it off too.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Smart guy.
Oh yeah,
Smart
because it's
guy.
kind of just gross.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of
Oh, yeah.
picky about the cleanliness thing,
I agree.
so I kind of want it to
Yeah.
be clean before I use it.
Yeah. Professor Dave Chow is here.
Pleasure to be here, as always.
From his front porch, you can see me grilling in my driveway, mostly,
I think. No.
if I'm there.
Oh, okay. Not that I watch or anything
No,
like
not
that.
that you
so-
watch or
You don't
anything.
grill on you have a nice back deck.
We do have a nice deck, and what I've noticed is that I worry all the time about the heat pouring off the grill, getting too close to the siding of the house
Yep,
or the
yep, yep.
garage. So I tend to pick it up and move out to the
Yep.
driveway. Yeah,
That's
so-
what I do too. I don't. If we had aluminum, it might
Careful.
be a different matter. But
Yes,
we
gotta
have
be
vinyl
careful.
siding now. So
Gotta be careful. And those, of course, are the dulcet tones of Professor Beth Oljar.
Hello.
Hello. And you were talking about pizza. So, as always, we've done pizza, we've done ice cream. We just
it
talked
always
about
comes
grilling.
back to food.
Always comes back to food. Pizza actually does sound good, and this is a night where Leslie's going out with some friends, and so I know the boys are going to be like, "Where are we supposed to drive to get our junk food, Dad?" And I'll be like, "Go make yourself a sandwich."
I thought for sure you were going to send them to my
well,
porch.
go to A&W and see if they're having free conies, and you can send
Conies.
Emmett up to
Conies.
get another one for
Free
you.
conies?
Exactly. There was a time when there were dime conies. Those were the days, let me tell
And
you.
he would use his children shamelessly as a way to get more.
More hot dogs.
Isn't this what I had children for?
100%. Yard work and free conies. This is a program, folks, where you can send us questions regarding anything. Stump the panel, win a prize. Don't stump the panel, win a prize. You can send the questions to us in a number of ways. Email us at atp@udmercy.edu. Find us on Facebook and Instagram, or listen on your favorite smart speaker by asking it to play Ask the Professor at University of Detroit Mercy. Dear professors, I said to myself, before I go to sleep tonight, I was finally going to send this batch of questions that I've been marinating on our computer since the end of December. We've hung on to them long enough. It's high time we contributed to your fine show again. Happiest of New Year's, and as always, from Valencia, California, warmest greetings from Frank and the family Burrows.
Frank.
Thanks for
You're the
sending those
man.
in.
And the
Yes.
family.
Yes, the whole place. The whole shebang. Which of the Wright brothers was older?
Orville.
It does say Orville. Do you know how
It's
by
gonna
how
be my
many
guess.
years?
7?
3.
4.
4 is what it says here, but it could be 3 by the calendars. There were a lot of Wright brothers. This is definitely something right up my wife's alley. Royklin
Royklin
was the oldest. Then Lauren,
And wasn't there
L-O-R-I-N.
also a sister in the batch too?
Orville, Otis, and then of course Wilbur, the baby of the family.
Kind of neat.
Will.
What is Is it Reuchlin?
Reuclin. Royklin, right?
Yeah.
Royklin?
Just
Gotta
curious
be a
where that
family
name-
name.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Wait,
Yeah.
what was Sherlock Holmes' brother's name?
Mycroft.
Mycroft. Okay,
Yes, Mycroft Holmes, not his sister Enola. That's a different story.
Those are great movies, actually.
they are.
Both of them are very
I heard
good.
they're really good. What is the strange coincidence with the chemical compound sodium citrate and the nacho cheese that you get on your chips?
Where
at the
is
ballpark?
Kendra? I mean, this is a
There
perfect question for her.
one element or bond separating them or something like that.
I mean, you're in the wheelhouse. I definitely can give you that.
I mean, is this a Kendra Evans question if ever there was one?
Probably.
Tie this in with Taco Bell and it's her.
I'm going to cut it out, and we're going to tape it to the bottom of the table the next time she's here.
I say you
Could
put
be
it on her
wrong.
door.
So what's the question again? I don't think I caught the end of it.
Strange coincidence
Okay,
for the
between
compound sodium citrate and nacho cheese that you put on your
Sodium.
chips at the
bubbles?
ballpark.
it contains
No.
sodium
Is
citrate.
it a melting point?
So the nacho cheese does contain sodium citrate.
Seems
It
the
is
obvious.
added for smooth and creamy texture.
Oh.
However,
oh. Okay.
The chemical formula of sodium citrate is sodium 3, carbon 6, hydrogen 5, O7, and if you remove the numbers, it spells the word nacho. NaCH.
Oh.
I think that's the best thing that I've ever heard.
That's, like I said, that's a Kendra question.
That is a Kendra question.
It
but
totally
yes,
is.
Yes. There's your
Wow.
nacho related trivia.
I
for
can
the
I
day,
can just
yeah.
I can imagine going up to the drive-thru tonight and asking for that.
Oh
So
my gosh. How many freshwater lakes are there on the island of Bermuda? Let's take a look at the Caribbean map here. Oh, the legend might be blocking it.
blocked.
How many freshwater lakes are there on the island of Bermuda?
I don't know.
Well, there can't be many.
Bermuda's not that
Yeah.
big.
It's not that
right.
big.
Can't be many. Gotta give you partial credit for that.
4.
None.
There's 0 is what it says here.
Oh.
0. They don't have any natural source of fresh water on the island.
So what, desalination,
So they
or-
rely on rainfall for 70% of local water.
Ooh.
That's weird, man.
I've watched Help a lot of times, and there's no lakes when they go to the Bahamas. So
There you go. Mhm. There is limited freshwater aquifer, but the water is not, as we say, potable in the
Yeah.
world of chemistry. So, weird stuff. I know we've had this in multiple different ways, but probably the number is changing. What percentage of internet traffic actually comes from humans using the internet, as opposed to bots, cryptocurrency mining, and hacking tools that are on autopilot?
40%.
That is basically exactly correct. 38%. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just only 38% of humans.
My
Using
email
the internet.
inbox would concur.
Oh.
Easily.
And the internet will bring us all closer together.
Well, in some pockets it did.
Yeah.
In other pockets, not so much.
Not so much.
I will encourage our listenership to go check out Adam Conover's take on why Elon Musk was so adamant about taking over Twitter. It's actually very enlightening. It's something that could show up in one of your classes someday, because he recognized that it was 100% free, 100% sandbox, and that it brought people together. And he consciously chose, I have to shut that down, because that's the only thing on earth that's doing that right now. It's really disturbing, actually, even more.
Well,
than
he's
usual.
pretty disturbing,
He's pretty
so
disturbing. So it checks out.
makes sense.
Story checks
Wasn't
out.
there some point he was actually admirable?
I don't know.
Early on?
I
I
think
mean, was there a point when Trump was admirable? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
never ever.
No, I'm just trying to think. Like his
But
SpaceX
Elon
and
Musk
stuff.
had actual accomplishments.
True.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, maybe that's
Yeah.
maybe that's what
Yeah.
I'm going to. Okay. all right.
Born on
That's
third versus hitting a triple. I've heard that analogy more
Right,
than once.
right.
I mean, a rocket that can come back and land.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So-
Yep.
Professors, did you know that military dogs, the actual ones commissioned in the U.S. military, always rank, officially, one rank higher than their human handler? Do you know why?
It's for officer abuse.
Basically, officer abuse. You are not allowed in the world of the MP to abuse a senior officer in any way, shape, or form, and that's the way
So
they
this
legally
prevents
hold you.
the
Yeah,
abuse.
exactly.
My
Dogs.
cousin,
Yeah.
my cousin has the same issues with his canine as well. So
Oh, well, there you go, Captain.
But how?
what?
I don't know. It just seems so odd that you would have to prevent that, because I don't understand why people would abuse animals.
I
But
think it's more of a tradition that's kind of cool. Like, oh, and here's Sergeant whatever. He outranks me. You know
Sergeant
what I mean?
Fluffy.
Sergeant Fluffy, exactly.
So the dog barks, and I have to say, yes, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Sir,
yes, sir.
I will admit this. When I was out at my cousin's house, I mean, that dog gave me the stare down of a lifetime. And that dog also gets fed better than the rest of us. I mean, it was.
Well, so you better be careful with, putting Kenai into certain special places if he
Oh,
outranks you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I can't put him in the brig. It sounds like
You could try.
Exactly. What
Reverse.
was your rank when you left the Navy?
My rank
Yeah.
compared to his.
Were you a lieutenant? What?
Oh, I wasn't. I was never an officer. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I was an enlisted man.
Enlisted. Got
Deck
it.
swabber.
I went to college as a result of being in the
Right.
service.
Right.
With
As
the GI
many
Bill.
people do.
Who is the female singer on Kenny Loggins' hit "Whenever I Call You
Stevie
Friend"?
Nicks.
It is Stevie Nicks. Didn't even finish the sentence.
I'm a
Excellent.
huge Kenny Loggins fan,
That's
and he
awesome.
just turned 76.
That's right.
Believe it
That's
or
right.
not.
And Stevie Nicks, didn't she just play last year at Pine Knob?
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
She was doing a solo tour.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yep, yep.
Professors, what toy was originally called a bandolore in the 17th century? So it goes all the way back that far. That should narrow it down
A
at least
mandolin.
a little bit. That's good, but
Wrong.
no.
It's a
toy.
That's not
Oh.
a toy.
A toy called a bandolore from the 1600s that we still use today. My kids have a
That?
couple.
Well, like a
but-
yo-yo?
It's a yo-yo.
Oh,
okay.
We call it a yo-yo, yeah. Everyone's familiar with the Auguste Rodin sculpture called The Thinker in front of the DIA, but that is the third casting made from the original. How many castings of The Thinker were ever
I
made?
think 24?
That's exactly what it says. What the hell is your problem?
You forget, I went to school across from the DIA.
Well, that is true. That is true. But does that
And
Thinker
he's an
tell you?
artist.
Psst, I'm 3 of 24.
Well, the thing I always want to do is put like a big roll of toilet paper and hoist it up to him. That's
Oh
all.
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
That's what he's looking like he needs, right? That's what he looks
He's
like.
contemplating
thinking about.
life.
Yes, it does look like he's sitting on a toilet, pretty much. From
But yeah, I've always wanted to do like a cast iron, like a roll of toilet paper on a stand.
Or give them a magazine.
Yeah, exactly. A magazine rack, give him like Sudoku to work on or something
Give him
like
a
that.
copy of the Varsity News.
No,
Oh, my word.
Farmer's Almanac.
Sparks Illustrated,
Oh my gosh.
the swimsuit issue.
Farmer's Almanac, so we can put the hook on it too.
On the TV show Petticoat Junction,
Oh, okay. Oh.
the train, the entire
The
express,
Hooterville Cannonball.
the Cannonball, yep, was christened with the number 8 for a very specific reason. Do you know what it is?
Number 8.
As per usual, you think it's symbolic, but no, it was just a random thing.
Well, 8 is good luck in China.
True.
That's
No,
true
I'm trying to think.
in
Is it
London,
a filming thing where
There
you
were
can,
8 petticoats in Petticoat Junction.
No, because if you shot the number 8, you can actually see it
From the left,
go left to right,
or
right
the
to
right,
left.
so
Yes.
they could reuse the footage
Yes.
going in either direction. I swear I don't make this stuff up.
No,
That is so
it's a
great.
classic
That is
thing
exactly
that
what
they
it
used to do
says.
back in the day.
You could flip the film. Mhm. Wow. Who
Classic
was
storytelling.
the first choice to play Steve McGarrett on the original run of Hawaii Five-0? This is actually kind of interesting.
Wasn't Jack Lord, who the
No.
Hawaiians absolutely hated?
That's true. It was a very, very famous actor from Hollywood.
What year was that?
Burt
started?
Reynolds?
Burt Reynolds, I think we need to go a little bit before.
A little farther
Steve
back.
Burt
McQueen?
Reynolds. Not Steve McQueen. You're kind of all
Humphrey Bogart? Is
in
he too
the
old?
sort of like Venn diagram.
That's
of all
too
these
early.
people.
Jack Lemmon?
I could give it away
Jack
instantly
Palance.
by saying To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, Gregory Peck.
Gregory Peck is what
Oh.
it says here. Yeah,
I can see
that would have
that.
been a different show,
I can see that though.
huh? Yeah.
He's got that scowl.
It would have been like if, the first choice to play John Norman Howard in the Streisand version of The
Was
Star
Elvis?
is Born was Elvis, which would have been amazing. It would have been amazing.
Who was the first U.S. president who had a pet that wasn't a dog, a cat, or a bird?
Andrew Jackson must have had snakes.
That's good, but that's not what it
Yeah,
says.
but that's coming
here.
out of his head.
Coming out of his ears.
No kidding.
And I don't know my presidents well enough during this era to know what number this prez was.
We
We use
need
those
Jim
things
Toad.
a
Was
lot.
he talking about fish or...
It was not a fish.
Rabbit?
It was a reptile.
Oh.
It was a reptile.
It was a reptile.
So was
So a
this
lizard.
Turtle.
Teddy Roosevelt?
No, that's a really good guess.
Yeah.
that's
Mr.
what I was
Naturalist.
thinking,
No, John Quincy Adams had an alligator in the White House.
yeah. Alligator.
Sure, he did. What number was John Quincy Adams? Help me out here.
5?
5?
that right?
I almost said 6,
Yeah.
so I was close. All right, that's awesome. I was that scared to
Alligator.
say
An alligator? Why? What?
alligator.
He was not like from New Orleans or anything.
I don't know.
I'm sure it was a dad issue. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
Because look who his dad was.
Of which he had no.
So,
seriously, seriously. There is only one South American country that technically touches both the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean.
Panama?
That's not what it says here, and I don't think Panama qualifies as South America.
Oh.
Central.
Okay, no, I'm just thinking the canal, that's all.
It's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Argentina? Chile?
Chile?
Chile.
Chile is only on one side of the continent.
Oh.
It's on the Pacific side.
Uruguay?
It's at the-
Uruguay.
We're almost there. There's only a handful of countries.
How many more Guays are there?
South
Brazil?
Not
Can't
Brazil,
be.
not
America.
Colombia.
It's Colombia. Colombia. There is Colombian land on either side of the isthmus. So technically it touches the
Oh, okay.
Atlantic and Pacific.
I have to
so-
look now. Huh.
Yep. I know everybody always looks at this map we have of the states. It's
and
not going
Florida.
to be helpful.
Oh no,
Not going to be helpful.
we need more maps.
Good piece of trivia. Maybe the map would help. What's Michigan's oldest city by founding date? It's a good
Detroit?
piece. It's not Detroit. Detroit was 1701, and this predates it by just about 40 years.
Was it Mackinac top?
Not Mackinac, but you're getting close.
Well, here,
Marquette?
It's the Sioux is what it says.
Sioux,
Sault Ste.
yeah,
Marie
because
was
it's the
founded
French,
in
yeah.
1668.
Ooh.
That is an old city. Not the oldest in the world, but pretty darn old.
I wonder how come it never got more popular. You know, it wasn't
Pretty
more
close
popular.
to the oldest I mean,
Oh, it's up there.
that's
right?
really early for America.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, how come it didn't get more? You know, more people. Weather?
Good question.
No witches.
It's pretty rough
Oh,
up there.
true.
Man, that's all I got to say. And they only have about solid 5 weeks of what we would call nice weather every year. So it's rough.
My
up there.
dad used to travel there a lot for business.
What is actor Hugh Grant's middle name? The side note here is the world is a cruel place.
Oh, like Mycroft or something like that?
No, for the record, he usually goes, because stage name and all that, with John as his middle name, but that's not what he was given. Oh my.
Julius.
No.
Prasad. Oh,
No.
Wilbur?
I have no idea how I
Is
will-
it some British? Is
Arthur?
It a,
It's a Britishy thing, but I don't even know how. Yeah,
Was
I
it like a
just-
dandy kind of snooty?
They get two middle
it's
names
goofy.
a lot.
Yeah, it's Hugh John blank Grant. Starts with an M.
Land. Oh,
I just
McAllister.
I don't know.
it's Mungo is what it says here. It was
Mungo.
gifted the middle name Mungo,
Mungo?
by his
Mungo.
parents.
What, as in like Mungo Jerry?
Mungo
kinda?
Jerry is the
There's
only thing I could think of. So
Some
Mungo?
family ancestor who served
Yes.
in India and thought that was cool.
yeah,
I
probably.
had a grandfather that we called Munga.
There you go.
I don't know.
But it wasn't.
What was the
Hugh.
rationale for it?
I know his name was, this is my mother's father. His name was Elliot.
Huh.
Elliot, and somehow he came up with, we always knew him as kids as Munga.
Okay.
Munga.
I feel like there's something out there on the internet that would cover this. It's just like you live your whole life, raise a family, you become a professional, but after one little kid mispronounces, man, you are
You're doomed,
bebop
yeah,
for the
yeah.
rest of your life. Like, I mean, once that comes through,
We had a number
Yeah.
of oddly named relatives.
there you go.
We had a woman named Aha,
Mhm.
A-H-A,
Mhm.
a woman who worked at a bank, had many suitors, never married, took a world cruise by herself, very independent. Aha was her name.
We called my
Browning.
maternal grandmother Nanu.
Lita.
There you
Was
go.
her-
Yeah.
And her name was, well, her real name was Gladys, but she hated it.
Oh,
So she went by Dottie
Dottie.
to her
Dottie,
friends, and my
interesting.
cousins used to call her Grandma Dot, and I'm like, no, that's stupid. We call her Nanu. So
Professors, what are the two most prominent countries separated by the 49th parallel? So difficult.
Wait, 49th?
49th.
That's what it says here.
What we? What's it? We
Canada?
passed Canada, U.S.
Canada and the United States.
I'm thinking
It was
about your
like
family.
Too
Yeah, you guys-
obvious.
you guys
I
passed
went
the
up and I
48th.
looked, and that's just that's
Yeah,
it.
because you guys make a big to do about crossing the 48th, right?
No, well, the 45th.
45th.
Yes.
That's okay.
You
That's
get the why
gotcha.
are all the other ones ignored? I don't know, but on size 75 they tell you when you cross the 45th. Oh, because it's halfway to the North Pole. That's why I'm an idiot.
Oh,
All right.
oh,
I'm like,
okay.
why do we celebrate the 45th but not anything else? You know.
Okay.
What was so remarkable about the birth of a baby named Emma Gibson?
Emma Gibson.
she became Debbie Gibson.
No, that is remarkable.
The what?
She invented the cocktail known as the
Is there
Gibson.
anything with
Gibson,
what? Like,
yeah.
No, that's not what it
is
says
she-
here.
is
Was
she-
it how she was conceived or carried?
Absolutely, that is very
She was-
special
was
about
she a
her.
test
Test tube? Yeah, test tube kid.
I mean, I'll give it to you, so stick with me here. Emma was a frozen embryo, harvested is the word they use, in 1992. She was born in 2017 to a mother who was born in 1991. So if you do the math, it's pretty scientifically interesting. Yes.
Wow.
So she's technically, I guess, depending who you ask, when you're younger than the mom.
No, I don't know if I would say that. She was born in 2017. The mother was born in 1991. But I think that the whole deal is she was frozen from
Gotcha,
1992 until she was gestated.
So the mother was only a year older than the egg
There we
Yes,
go.
there we go.
From
Thank you.
which
Yes,
the baby
yes,
developed,
yes.
which is really kind of weird.
Women are born with every egg fully developed at the point of birth. So that is interesting stuff.
all right.
Yeah. Do the math. What is the speed? Oh, I love this, actually. I saw something the other day. Is it better to walk at the regular speed or run in the rain? Which one gets you wetter? And someone actually published a paper. What's the speed of the average raindrop anywhere on Earth?
Oh, we've had this before.
Yeah, we have.
The average raindrop as it's falling.
Right.
So what's terminal velocity for the raindrop?
Dan's going to
15 miles per hour?
I feel like giving it to you. It's 20, but yeah, that's pretty
Close
good.
enough.
It's not like 100 miles per hour or anything.
So what?
Yeah.
So what was the answer to the one running or walking?
You actually can stay drier if you run, because the truth is you are creating this pocket behind you where, because the rain is essentially perfectly vertical, the front of you is getting more wet, but the back of you is staying almost exclusively dry. So it's just weird. I mean, that's the whole deal about cars driving. I never use my rear wiper because when I'm driving, I'm pushing through the rain instead of it.
Mine all the time.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know.
The aerodynamic.
The
What if
shape
you-
of the flex.
What if you don't run?
You're more stationary
screwed.
if you just
If
stand.
you, if you don't run, you
Get
get wet on both sides, basically, is what they're saying. Yeah, so I don't know.
All right.
So we should run faster when it's raining
Yes, you
to
should.
stay dry.
You can stay drier.
But
you
it's
can.
more fun to
Frolic?
run with no clothes on.
What about a
when it's
mudslide?
raining really hard.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no, not a mudslide. Oh my gosh, poor California.
Here comes the Naked Miles
Across
jokes.
the board. Throughout his 600 plus song recording career, how many songs of those did Elvis Presley write?
None.
Many.
Not many.
0.
Oh, 0.
He wrote 0 of them. He was a performer. Let's be serious.
Okay, all right.
Kind of like a Backstreet Boys kind of.
I just read something about his last meal,
Okay.
and it was not. What was he famous for?
Bananas.
Peanut butter and banana
And
sandwich.
banana
or
marshmallow
something?
Yeah,
sandwich.
peanut butter or something like
It
that.
was something like a bowl of ice cream and 4 chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
Or something.
Sure. Interesting.
And then,
No.
they found him dead in the bathroom.
That's right. How did that come up that you read about this?
Yes. Don't ask me where.
Got
The same place I got the Ted Giannoulis.
Oh,
information.
yeah.
It was the same site that Leslie was on. With
San Diego.
with the
Yeah,
chicken
darn
thing.
right. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
The movie about Elvis that Baz Luhrmann made was actually really good. I really
heard it was
liked
pretty good.
I thought it was really good.
Are you a Lerman fan in general?
Yes and no. Moulin Rouge didn't do a whole lot for me.
Okay,
Sorry, I know
okay.
your idol is in it. But I loved Strictly Ballroom. I loved
Okay.
Australia.
Okay.
I didn't like. Didn't he do The Great Gatsby?
Ooh, a good question.
The Gatsby
movie.
with probably because I
DiCaprio?
don't like the story. I didn't like it, but yeah, I thought his Elvis film was quite good.
Didn't Lerman also do the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo and Juliet? Did he direct that film? The one that came
I
out
think
in the
that's
90s?
right.
Okay. Because that's one of my absolute favorites. It's sort of weird. I don't know why I like that
I don't
one,
like
but
the
I do.
play, so I probably didn't.
Sure.
Who's the Moulin Rouge reference?
Oh,
Nicole Kidman
Nicole Kidman. of
and
course.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
I need a moment.
I know. Have you've seen Practical Magic? Have you?
No.
Oh,
Are you
my
kidding
gosh.
me?
Wow.
Oh my god!
Oh, Dan,
What?
we better get out of the way. This is
She's
gonna
got a
get
new
ugly.
one. She's
Get
got a new
thee
one
to
we're waiting to watch.
a
but
video
we're
store.
So ensconced with
Nunnery.
Mad Men. She's got a new
I
one
appreciate
that's
that
streaming
reference.
called, takes place in Hong Kong, Expats.
That's a series, I
So
think.
yeah, it's like
on
a
Netflix or
a
something.
mini series, like
Yeah.
maybe 6 shows or something. We haven't seen it.
Practical Magic
but-
is my favorite role of hers, other than
Look at that.
Australia, which she was also really good in. I'll have to learn you Practical Magic then.
One more before we can close this show down, professors. Let's see what we got here. I've got, what's the difference between referring to a bovine as a cow versus a heifer?
Is it 1 year old versus older?
Close. More. It's more of a lifestyle choice by the cow.
Lifestyle choice?
What? No, they're not
Can
castrated,
you tip
are they?
them over
no,
when they
No,
sleep or
no,
not?
thank
that's
God.
not that.
Thank God.
No, cow is a cow female.
Cow is female. So a cow
Oh,
has
gives milk.
given birth and therefore can give milk, but a heifer is just sort of, I mean, you
Oh.
may be fattening somebody up for slaughter in the future and
Like-
things like that.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
So there's a difference.
Okay.
There's a difference.
All
We
right.
do need cows to make more cows. I think that we've established that fact. But
You will either be hamburger or you will not be hamburger.
So kind of like the spinster of the family.
yeah, something like that. I'll be honest, when I read that question, I thought that the two terms were interchangeable, and as per usual English, they probably are. But then you're going to meet some farmer, and they'll be like, actually, the heifers are over here, and the cows are... I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm sure they would say the same thing if I started explaining organic chemistry.
Or like talking nachos.
Yeah, nacho, exactly. Sodium citrate. I'm afraid, professors, that's all the time we
That's
have
why
for
they
our
named
show
nacho
today.
what they did, precisely because of the chemical
Don't
formulation.
even
I'm
say,
sure of it.
if that's
Awesome.
true, I
Awesome.
don't even know what I'm going to do. But I'm afraid that the time has come to say goodbye, Beth,
Goodbye.
Dave,
See ya.
Dan,
Goodbye.
and Stephen.
Goodbye.
Now these words from University of Detroit Mercy.
You can email Ask the Professor at atp@udmercy.edu or visit the Ask the Professor Facebook page.
Ask the Professor is produced and directed by Michael Jason and Brian Masonville, and our executive producer is Professor Jason Roach. Until next week, I'm your host, Matt Mayo.